So we've all fallen into the productivity trap, right? You think if I just download this one new app or buy this expensive software, suddenly I'm going to be organized, profitable, and get everything done. However, usually the opposite happens. You spend so much time setting up a complex system in Asana or Monday.com, and you spend 0 hours actually working on your side projects that you're trying to build. When you're balancing a full-time job and a side project, you do not have a lot of time for a steep learning curve, right? What you need is a stack that is simple, cheap, and very, very effective. I run my side project using just 5 minimalist tools. And these are the essentials that I use, from scheduling to content creation to marketing and sales, all of that, all in this 5 minimalist tools. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by tech, this video is your permission slip to declutter and simplify. And speaking of simplifying, the best tool in the world is not going to help you if you do not have a routine to use it. So I have created my free 7-step weekly reset blueprint. This is the exact checklist I use every single week, every single Sunday, to clear my inbox, organize my Notion, set up my calendar, and set my intentions for the week. It is a perfect companion to the tools I'm about to show you. So go to the link in the description box and download the weekly reset blueprint, or simply comment weekly reset and I'm going to send that to you. And if you're ready to stop hoping you can start exploring your creative goals outside of your full-time job and actually start building one because you have the perfect productivity system for you, hit that subscribe button. I share weekly systems to help you build your own productivity system that's going to help you explore or build your creative side projects outside of your 9-to-5 without burnout. So I'm going to reference my client interviews for a minute. One of the biggest pain points that comes up over and over again is information overload. A lot of people always feel like they need a complex system, a complex CRM, a complex project management tool, or an expensive editing software just to start. However, when you start with all of these complex tools and systems, you become paralyzed. And some of my clients used to spend all of their energy managing their tools instead of managing their time. And the stack I'm showing you today is designed to fix that. It is my minimum viable stack, which gets me tangible results. So let's start with the non-negotiable foundation, in my opinion. And this I refer to as my central nervous system. I do not pay for Calendly, and I do not use expensive cloud storage. I use Google because it integrates everything. It has the calendar option for time management. I use the appointment slots right inside Google to schedule appointments with potential clients, even for market research. I do not need a separate subscription for a booking tool, right? Once someone books an appointment with me, it generates a Google Meet link automatically and sends it to myself, equally sends it to the person whoever booked the appointment. Also, I use Google Calendar, of course, for time management, for time blocking. And this is where I schedule tasks and events, so I do not forget. I schedule recurring events, so I have that in my calendar. My recurring side project blocks, I have that on my calendar. My recurring gym, meditation, all of that, I schedule those in Google Calendar. I also color code my tasks, but this is not something that I really think about, right? I choose whatever it is. Sometimes it is recommended, and I just go with what is recommended for the most part. So when it comes to color coding, I just do it just because it's not that important, in my opinion. However, if that is something that you're into, you can color code your calendar. Now, the second thing in Google Suite, of course, is my Google Drive. I use Drive for storage, specifically for my side project, because it talks to my calendar. I have different folders in my Drive. I categorize them as needed. So I do not have open docs or recordings or whatever just scattered all over my Google Drive. But my Google Drive has different folders categorized for different areas in my side project. Also, I'm going to mention this. I equally do have OneDrive, and I use OneDrive mostly for my personal storage. I do store only business related stuff in Google Drive. However, OneDrive is where I use for my personal stuff. That's where I store my personal documents, basically. If I'm being honest, one reason why I do use OneDrive is to have a second storage system. So I did learn a while ago that is very important, even though it's cloud and all of that, but you never know, stuff happens. So it is important to have 2 storage systems, right? Cloud systems, but even with that, you do want to have a physical storage. So if you have a hard drive or whatever, you want to make sure that you store your documents, even videos, all of your IP, right, in a physical drive. So that's just one tip for you. Now, the goal here with Google Suite is minimalism. When you are choosing this kind of system, the goal is always minimalism. At least for me, it is. And when it comes to minimalism, the goal is not to have less necessarily. It's simply to have less friction. And Google Suite removes that friction. And also, this is another tool that we're going to talk about. It works perfectly with Gemini, right? When I need to use Gemini, it is able to pull from all of my documents in my Drive in order to give me the best results relating specifically to my side projects, to my business, to my other clients, to my program, everything. It can pull all of the resources directly from my Google Drive. The second tool we're going to talk about is Notion. If Google is where I manage time, documents, storage, all of that, then Notion is really where I manage my thoughts as well as time, if I am being honest. So Notion is basically my second brain. If you have a side project, your brain is constantly filled with open tabs of ideas and resources and things that you want to do. So Notion allows me to kind of close those tabs without really losing information, because all of that information is stored in Notion. Now, the first thing that I use Notion for is project management, of course, and that is to help me actually take action. That is where all of my action steps and everything, my action system is being built. My productivity system is built in Notion. I do not use a static to-do list because those usually get longer and longer. I use a Kanban board, a Notion for any of my projects that I am working on. And this is great because I'm able to see exactly where every project stands. I can see how far I've gone. I can see what needs to get done, what hasn't gotten started, what is in progress, what is completed. And I equally use that to check off my tasks after I get them done. My one thing, I store that in Notion. Again, that is my calendar. That is where I organize my tasks for my side project. And I do check that off every single day because there is something really psychologically satisfying about moving a task from not started to in progress to done. And again, this is not just for yourself. If you work in corporate, a lot of companies do have this project management systems, right? Because there's really something very satisfying psychologically about moving these tasks to the done column. It feels so good. It just proves to me that I am making progress, right? I am actually getting stuff done. And even if I only had 30 minutes to work that day, as long as I moved something from not started or from in progress to done or from not started to in progress, as long as that card moves, it's very, very satisfying. It just shows me that I am making progress, and that could be the motivation that you need during your week. Now, the second thing I use Notion for, of course, is for brainstorming and research. I never ever start from a blank page, right? Whenever I use ChatGPT or Gemini to do my research or to come up with script ideas or drafts of my scripts, I copy everything from those tools and organize them directly in Notion. And this is important because when I sit down to work during my focus blocks, I do not waste time looking for my notes or trying to start from scratch. They are already organized by projects, by topics, just waiting for me. Now, the third thing I use Notion for is resource creation. And it is one of my favorite things about Notion. I do not just organize in Notion, I actually create in Notion. And a real example here is my weekly reset blueprint that I did mention earlier. I built that entirely inside a Notion page. It allows me to create beautiful, shareable templates for you without really needing a graphic designer. It basically turns my internal system into external product. So if you haven't already, you want to make sure you go down to the link in the description box and download the weekly reset blueprint, or simply comment weekly reset and I'm going to send that to you. So I want to do a quick pulse check, right? We just talked about digital tools like Notion and Google Suite or Google Calendar, but I know a lot of people still love the feeling of pen and paper. So let me know in the comments, are you team digital all the way or are you still team paper? Do you need to physically write things down in order to feel organized? Or does a paper planner just become another thing that you need to carry around? So please type digital or paper in the comment section below. I'm really, really curious to know where people stand, and I'm actually kind of wanting to see who actually wins. So since I am a solopreneur, I do not have a team. What I do is I use technology to kind of fill in those gaps, right? So the next tool or tools we're going to talk about is Gemini and ChatGPT. And this is basically my research assistant. So let's be honest, the hardest part about working on your side projects after a full-time job is not necessarily the work, right? It's just the brain fog. You sit down at 6 p.m. and your mind is just blank. You know you need to write an email or plan a video. However, the words are just not there. The words just won't come. That is why tool number 3 is one of my non-negotiables, and that is AI, which what I use is Gemini plus ChatGPT. Now, I do not use that to replace my creativity. I use that to jumpstart my creativity, to organize my thoughts, and really make it simple, plain, and more professional, organized, basically. The first thing is AI helps me with scripting, research, and even email writing. I never stare at a blank cursor in order to write an email for my list. If I need to write an email, what I do sometimes is I simply open Gemini and I'm like, okay, here are 3 thoughts that I have running through my brain right now. Since Gemini already has everything with regards to my program, with regards to my either client, so they know that what I am talking about most of the time, or pretty much all of the time, is about productivity, time management for women with a full-time job and building a side project who really just want to create a productivity system that helps them balance both without overwhelm or burnout. So I can simply type, here are some thoughts that are in my head about productivity. Please organize this into a structured newsletter with an empathetic opening. So what it does is it's going to turn my scattered thoughts into a workable draft. And I can make updates and then ask it to, okay, restructure this, organize this. If it's good, I take it. If not, I make some other updates. I'm like, okay, go through this, look for any errors, restructure, and all of that, right? So depending on what you're looking for, all you need to do is just start with your thoughts, dump it into Gemini, and it's going to help you kind of reorganize those or give you a draft to start from. Now, the second thing I use AI for is my strategic partner. I use it for strategy, brainstorming, research, and all of that great stuff. So again, because I'm a solopreneur, I do not have a team, I do not have an assistant. So I really use AI as that assistant as much as possible. And one thing that I do is I ask it to give me objective feedback, right? So not just give me what I want to hear, but give me objective feedback. Like I put my offer in there and I'm like, can you roast this offer for me? Give me all of the objections. Tell me exactly why a potential client will not want to invest in this. And again, like I said, what it does is once you frame it that way, it's going to give you objective feedback in an instant. And that helps me kind of spot holes in my strategy and saves me trial and error. At the end of the day, it's all still trial and error. But again, that first draft, that first opportunity for you to pick apart your strategy just helps. And what I do is I use both ChatGPT and Gemini to compare feedback, right? And this helps me take the best or take something from here, take something from there, and kind of merge, take off something that really doesn't sound like me, or it's not something that I've done, it's not something that I've tried, especially when it comes to scripts, right? I just take feedback from ChatGPT, feedback from Gemini, and kind of use what works for me, make it work for me. And one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to AI is they're always going to prompt you to keep asking for more, to keep feeding it or getting more out of it. Or I have provided this for you. Do you want me to do this? Or I can help you do this next. I can help you do that next, right? Especially ChatGPT. It does that all the time. So what they do is they're just going to keep prompting you with conversation starters. While that can be beneficial in certain situations, you need to learn to know when to stop, because that can become very, very overwhelming, because it just makes you feel like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do more. And eventually you're just going to go off track and waste more time that you really do not have. So you want to know when to stop. And that right there is one main reason why I prefer Gemini over ChatGPT right now. That could change. Gemini doesn't just keep pushing, it doesn't keep suggesting using these conversation starters to just keep you on the tool, keep you on the application. Gemini doesn't do that a lot. ChatGPT does it a lot. But again, that could be helpful in some situations, but in other situations, it just could keep you going round and round, asking for more, and you become overwhelmed. So bottom line, if you're working alone, you need leverage. And AI is the ultimate leverage, because at the end of the day, you really cannot work alone. You really do not have all of the ideas by yourself or all of the strategies by yourself. AI just helps you kind of bounce ideas and suggest stuff, and it gives you objective feedback if you need it. So this next tool is where side hustlers get stuck. You think you need a separate tool for your blog or your website, another tool for your emails, a third one to maybe host your digital course, and suddenly you're paying about $300 for software you barely use or you barely know how to use. And personally, I hate it. I hate having so many tools for different stuff. I love one tool or a few tools that really helps me get everything that I need to get done. So that is why I use System.io, because it is basically my all-in-one business engine that replaces everything else. And if you want to learn more about this tool, make sure you go down to the description box, right, and create your own account. So the first thing I use System.io for is my funnel, right? That is basically what you call your lead capture. So you know that 7-step weekly reset blueprint that I keep talking about. If you haven't downloaded it, you want to make sure you go to the description box or simply comment weekly reset and I'm going to send that to you. But the weekly reset blueprint, that landing page where you do enter your email and your name, that is all built in system.io. And that took me about 10 minutes to build it. It doesn't have a lot of templates. It doesn't have complicated templates. I use something that is very, very simple. I always go for the minimalist, simple, just to get the job done because I do not have time for complicated. And the second thing I use system.io for is automation. That is my CRM, like I said, and also my email marketing platform. So this manages my entire email list. I do not have to manually send anything. It all works in the background regardless of the time of the day. Now, the third thing I use system.io for is my program hosting platform. So if you do have any digital product that you want to launch or that you're selling, you can host all of that on system.io. So I do not have to worry about integrating different software into system.io. My email list talks to my program platform simply because they are all in the same house in different rooms. So this doesn't just save me money, but most importantly for me, this saves me tech overwhelm. I really get overwhelmed by tech. Once I start using it and get used to it, I'm fine with it. So I try as much as possible to use the minimum number of tools to get what I need to get done. So the final tool is one tool that scares people, but also this is the tool that kind of saves me the most amount of time right now. So if you want to be on YouTube and you're not a professional filmmaker or a video editor, which most of us are not, I suggest you use Descript. So Descript is amazing. It changes the game because you are not editing the video, you're editing the text. So the magic is if you mess up a sentence, you do not have to find a specific millisecond on the video timeline. All you need to do is just highlight the text, hit backspace, and it just cuts the video. And it also has a button that instantly finds the not needed and right. For me, I always say right. And this helps me remove a lot of it. Trust me, I say right a lot when I'm recording my videos. I remove a lot of them as I'm editing. But if you do a lot of and ends and right and all of that, you can easily take all of those off just with one click. So Descript saves me hours right now because I used to spend so many hours just editing, but this particular tool saves me hours per video, which is amazing. However, I want to manage your expectations, right? Descript works differently than any other tool. So the very first time you open it and try to use it, it might feel weird. You might get a little overwhelmed. That is 100% normal. That is expected. But I want you to give it 3 videos, right? The first one is going to be slow, of course, because you're still trying to learn this tool and still trying to learn how to use it. So it is going to be slow. Now, the second one is going to click. And by the third, you're going to be doing it with flying colors. And you are going to improve every single video. Video after video, you're going to make it better. You're going to add your own touch and make it more appealing. Each video you edit. So do not quit after video 1, okay? Trust me, the learning curve is short, but the payoff is massive. And when I want to add screenshots or B-roll, I simply drag it into the word where I want it to appear, and it anchors that image to the text. It is easy, it is fast, and it keeps my tech stack minimalist. And there are a lot of videos out there that teach you how to use Descript. So I'm going to link those tutorials in the description box below, as well as a link to Descript so you can create your own account and try it out if you need to. So you do not need a complex stack to make progress. All you need are just tools that actually work. And my philosophy always is keep it simple so you can move faster. And if you want to see how I actually organize these tools and use these tools on a week-to-week basis, make sure you download my weekly reset blueprint. It's going to help you clear the digital clutter and start your week with total clarity. So the link is down in the description box below, or simply comment weekly reset and I'm going to send that to you. But thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe to this channel, share with someone who needs a productivity boost or who needs minimalist tools for their system. Make sure you watch the video on the screen next, and I'm going to see you in the next one.